Returning home unexpectedly at 25, I discovered a heartwarming secret my Nora revealed to my son. Jake stepped out of his car and felt the weight of nostalgia crash over him like a wave. The rustic houses with their white picket fences lined the streets, each one whispering secrets of his childhood. He could almost hear the laughter of kids playing tag under the sprawling branches of the old oak tree, its gnarled roots still holding the echoes of simpler times. Yet, as he inhaled the familiar scent of ripe honeysuckle in the air, an undertow of disappointment pulled at his heart. Losing his job in the city felt like a failure he couldn't shake off. Urban ambition had once given him meaning, but now it left him feeling lost and disconnected. He glanced at his grandmother Nora's bakery in the distance. The sign creaked gently in the breeze, vibrant colors fading from too many summers in the sun. Memories flooded back. Sweets, laughter, and the way his grandmother's eyes sparkled when she shared her famous chocolate chip cookies. What he hadn't realized was how deep the roots of their family legacy grew. As he pushed open the bakery door, the bell chimed softly, breaking the silence. The warmth enveloped him like a hug, filled with the lingering smell of baked bread. Nora was there, donning her usual apron, flour dust resembling a halo around her silver hair. She looked up, her stern expression softening. "Jake. You should have called." "I know," he stammered, but she cut him off with a swift embrace. It felt grounding, yet time felt out of sync. Hours turned into days, and Jake found himself rolling out pie crusts and frosting cupcakes alongside Nora. Underneath the glazed counter, he stumbled upon a hidden stash of receipts and thank you notes pinned to the wood, simple words from veterans and low-income families thanking her for free pastries. His chest tightened as he took in the enormity of her selflessness. Nora had quietly supported the very people that made this town tick. She was a lifeline, even as the world outside seemed to forget the importance of community. "How could you not tell me?" Jake asked, awe spreading across his face. "This is incredible." Nora looked at him, the flicker of a challenge in her eyes. "Sometimes, it's what you don't say that matters most." Her voice, though strong, trembled just enough to reveal the weight she carried. Before they could bask in the warmth of this revelation, news spread like wildfire through town. The bakery was in financial trouble. Jake felt the tightness in his chest return, realizing the risk was greater than he presumed. This bakery, with its walls steeped in memories and laughter, needed him now, but what about his dreams? Should he pursue a job offer that would take him back to the city, or would he root himself back home? His thoughts spiraled as he glanced around, eyes searching for clarity. Suddenly, a plan ignited in his mind. If he rallied the townspeople, they could save the bakery together. His heart warmed at the thought of unity, but doubt lingered like a dark cloud. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when hope sparked within him, an unexpected challenge arose, a confrontation with a longtime rival who doubted Jake's dedication to his family's values. The tension in the air thickened, and Jake felt his heart pound. He stood at a crossroads, caught between passion for his grandmother's legacy and the pull of the city that once embraced him. Could he reconcile his dreams with the community he had taken for granted? The answer loomed like a shadow, teasing him, urging him to find his true purpose. The following days were a whirlwind of preparations. Jake threw himself into the task of rallying the town. Flyers adorned with bright colors and bold letters announcing a bake sale filled with activities emerged from every corner of the bakery. It was more than just a sale, it was a call to arms, a chance for people to unite and save a piece of their shared history. As Jake handed out flyers in the town square, he noticed familiar faces. Mr. Thompson, the retired schoolteacher, and his wife, Marlene, were the first to approach. Their smiles faded as they learned about the bakery's struggles. Jake, your grandmother has done so much for this community, Mr. Thompson said, a frown settling deep into the lines of his forehead. We can't let Nora's hard work go to waste. Marlene nodded, her eyes glistening. We'll help. Whatever it takes. Emboldened by their support, Jake felt a flicker of hope igniting within him. But then came the doubt, an echoing reminder of his rival's words. Max Harper, former friend turned foe, had always questioned Jake's commitment to his roots. Jake could see him in the corner of his mind, smirking, whispering about how he was destined to fail. On an early Friday morning, Jake stood in front of the bakery, ready to start setting up for the bake sale. The sun cast a golden hue over the little shop. Nora joined him, her hands laden with trays of cookies, ready to fill the tables. She looked up at him, a proud smile dancing on her lips. Today's the day, Jake. It's your chance to show them what we can do together, she said. Her faith wrapped around him like a warm blanket, momentarily silencing his anxieties. As the townspeople began to flood in, laughter and chatter filled the air. Children darted around with sticky fingers, dusted in flour and icing, while adults rekindled friendships over hot coffee and warm pastries. The bakery, once a fading relic, buzzed with life, a symphony of conversation that stirred feeling in Jake's veins. However, amidst the celebration, Jake spotted Max, arms crossed, watching from a distance. The man always had an uncanny ability to drain the colors from the brightest days. Heart pounding, holding on to the courage Nora had ignited in him, Jake marched over. Max, he called, voice steadier than he felt. Why don't you join us? We could use another hand. A smirk crept onto Max's face. You really think you can save this place? It's just a bakery, Jake. Yours was always a short-lived dream. The knot in Jake's stomach twisted tighter. It's not just a bakery, he shot back. It's hope. It's community. It's family. If you can't see that, maybe you're the one missing out. Max laughed, dismissing him with a wave. Good luck, then. I'll be watching. As he turned to go, Jake's heart sank. It was clear Max wouldn't be the only one doubting him, but all around were people who believed in this vision he had. Encouragement pulsed through the air, weaving through the laughter and warmth. With renewed determination, Jake returned to the bakery, engaging every passerby. And as the sun dipped lower in the sky, he caught glimpses of satisfaction on the faces of the townsfolk, the stronghold of the community he'd forgotten. But then, just as things began to feel right, a familiar face from his past stumbled upon the scene. It was Emily, the girl who left town years ago, the one who held memories of their childhood adventures and unspoken feelings. Her presence sent ripples of emotion through Jake's heart. Would she inspire him to reclaim parts of himself he'd buried deep? Or would she become another reminder of everything he'd lost? As they locked eyes, the moment hung heavy in the air, cracking open old memories and latent questions. Jake's breath caught in his throat as he and Emily stood frozen in silence. The vibrant sounds of the bake sale faded into a distant hum, replaced by the echoes of their shared past. Memories cascaded over him, igniting feelings he thought he'd contained: long summer days spent racing bikes down sunlit streets and quiet, stolen moments under the stars they once shared. Emily took a tentative step forward, her expression a blend of uncertainty and warmth. Jake? She whispered, the name tumbling from her lips like a cherished secret. Emily, he finally replied, the word barely escaping his lips. He hadn't expected to see her here, of all places, and not amidst such chaos and celebration. She looked different yet familiar, older, maybe a bit wiser, but still holding the spark that had drawn him to her all those years ago. I didn't know you were back in town, he managed to say, churning emotions clashing within him. A shadow flickered across her face. I wasn't planning on it. Things just happened. She glanced at the bakery, at the joyful faces now gathering around trays of pastries and cakes. I heard about the sale. I had to see it for myself. Every penny is for the bakery. It means a lot to my grandmother, to all of us, Jake replied, a fervent pride rising within him. It's our piece of home. Emily nodded, a softness in her gaze. It looks amazing. Everyone's really come together. Jake felt the weight of her words settle around him. It was true. This community, once fractured by hardships, was rallying back together, just as he'd hoped. But standing there with Emily stirred up questions. Where had she been all this time? Why did she leave? More importantly, what was he feeling now? So, what have you been up to? He asked, fumbling with the words. You left so suddenly. Her eyes flickered back to his. I guess I needed to find my path. It took me some time. A lot of mistakes were made. Her voice trailed off, regret shadowing her features. Did you ever think about coming back? Jake questioned before he could stop himself, a mix of hope and anxiety threading through the air. She hesitated, the laughter surrounding them momentarily quieting in her presence. Sometimes I did. But it felt different, like writing over old pages instead of starting fresh. Jake searched her eyes, wanting to understand. Maybe we can start fresh now? The words felt bold, but he couldn't shake the feeling that fate had led her back here for a reason. Emily smiled softly, and for a moment, the weight of their past seemed to lift. But just as Jake began to entertain the possibility of rekindling something, Max's voice sliced through the atmosphere. Still hanging around, Emily? Max's challenge wrapped around his words like a snake, tighten in every corner. Jake's heart thudded loudly in his chest. There was no question Max would use Emily's return as ammunition. Just catching up, Jake replied, his tone cooler, but the heat of anger simmered below the surface. Max shrugged, smirking. Hope you both don't get too cozy. It's a small town, and there's only room for the winners. Before Jake could retort, the bell over the bakery door chimed. More townsfolk poured in, laughing and calling out to one another, but the moment felt fractured now. The tension hung thick, blocking out the warmth and unity the bake sale had generated just moments before. Emily looked between Jake and Max, the air thick with unsaid words and fast-fading dreams. I should help out, she said quietly, stepping back. Wait, Jake interjected, his heart racing. Where are you going? You're needed here. Her gaze softened, but she shook her head. Not yet. Maybe later. With that, she spun on her heel and vanished into the crowd. Jake's chest tightened. It felt like another piece of hope slipping away with her. Max leaned in closer, a triumphant glint in his eye. You really think you can win her back while you're sinking with the bakery? Nice try, Jake. Jake swallowed hard, his heart working overtime as he weighed his next move. Did he let Emily go, or did he fight for her just like he was fighting for the bakery? Through the chaos around him, he felt a storm brewing inside. He had to make a choice, both for the bakery and for himself. As the sun dropped lower in the sky, casting long shadows into the bakery, Jake knew this moment would be a crossroads. The bake sale was only the beginning. What would he decide to hold on to, and at what cost? Jake's heart raced as he watched Emily disappear into the diverse crowd bustling in the bakery. The vivid colors of aprons and the warmth of fresh pastries made him feel more alone than ever. Each joyful laugh, each cheerful conversation felt like a reminder of his own turmoil. He was left standing in a field of uncertainties. Max's mocking grin lingered in his mind like a bad taste in his mouth. The weight of competition, so palpable in the tiny town, never ceased to suffocate. But as he glanced back towards the bakery, he focused on one thought above the noise. Emily. Hey, Jake. You still with us? Sarah, one of the volunteers, waved a hand in front of his face. We're running low on cupcakes. Can you help fill the trays? Yeah. Sure. He forced a smile, turning his back on Max and the shadows of doubt filling his head. The familiar tasks of icing, arranging, and serving brought Jake back to some form of calm. As he worked, he found himself crafting new thoughts instead of letting the past weigh him down. Emily was back. That scream of possibility roared louder with every scoop of frosting. Could they really start fresh? Could time, carried by the winds of life, really be a door opening towards the warmth of connection rather than the chill of past hurt? But then thoughts of Max pricked the edges of that newfound hope. Max always had a way of poking at Jake's insecurities. The chance to rekindle something with Emily could feel like walking a tightrope. But when he pushed aside the doubts, he could still envision her smile lighting up the dark. "Hey, Jake." Ms. Murphy, the head of the bake sale organizing committee, approached, her brow wrinkled with concern. "You okay? You look a bit distracted." "Yeah, I'm fine," he said, moving another tray of cookies. "Just a lot going on. Well, let me tell you, things are really looking up for the bakery. And that's because of you and your grandmother. Everyone appreciates your hard work." Her reassurance filled him with warmth. "We're all counting on you." Jake nodded, his confidence momentarily rekindled. Hearing that kind of support reignited a spark within him. If he could hold on to hope for the bakery, maybe he could hold on to hope for Emily as well. "Let's keep this momentum going." He called out to the volunteers. As the group cheered and jumped into action, he felt the weight of the past shift slightly. The connections around him, the laughter intertwining with nostalgia, made him long for those memories with Emily. Just then, he spotted her again, weaving through the crowd with a few kids in tow, her own laugh breaking the heaviness that had settled in his heart. She was so full of life, spreading joy like it was the most effortless thing in the world. Jake caught her eye, hoping for a sign that things could indeed mend. As she reached him, the children bouncing at her sides, he felt an unmistakable pull. She glanced at him and then glanced at the kids, blushing slightly. "I thought I could help. The little ones want to make their own treats." "Really? That sounds like fun." He grinned, eager to have her close again. But something in her smile flickered, shadows dancing behind her eyes. Alarm bells rang within him. "Actually, Emily hesitated, her lips pressing together. "I wanted to talk, Jake, but now just doesn't feel like the right time." His heart sank. The air felt electric, every word laced with unspoken depth, every glance more loaded than before. She was here, but would they be able to bridge that chasm of lost time? "Can we meet later? After the sale?" Jake asked, hopeful yet wary of the roller coaster of emotions at the edge of his voice. "Yeah," she said quietly, a hint of resolve illuminating her features. "Later." As she drifted back into the throng of shouting children and cheery adults, Jake felt a flicker of determination. Was he risking everything again? The bakery, the community, and the chance to get Emily back? The echoes of laughter swirled around him as he took a deep breath. He had a fight ahead, not just for the bakery, but for what might still exist between him and Emily. But the day wasn't over yet, and the whispers of decisions loomed large in his heart, heavy but hopeful. What would that conversation reveal? Would it bring him closer, or would he find himself facing ghosts of love lost? Jake's heart thrummed in his chest as he returned to the bustling activity of the bake sale. Children's laughter echoed off the walls, blending harmoniously with the comforting scent of cinnamon and sugar. But all of it felt distant as he prepared for the imminent conversation with Emily. He could barely concentrate on the cupcakes being decorated in front of him. With every swirl of icing, his mind chased after memories, the summer evenings spent under shimmering stars, the way her laughter would dance in the night air. He missed that joy. The thought of recapturing any part of that treasure filled him with excitement and dread all at once. "Jake." Sarah interrupted his thoughts again. "You need to step it up. People are getting impatient here." She threw a playful grin at him, handing him a spatula dripping with frosting. Her presence was a reminder that he was not alone in this effort. "Right," he mumbled, shaking off the daydreams haunting him. He leaned into the rhythm of icing cupcakes, each swirl grounding him back to the present. He needed to be ready, emotionally prepared for whatever Emily had to say. As time passed, the energy in the bakery surged. The crowd grew thick, buzzing with chatter. Jake soaked it in, grateful for the community support that surrounded him. Yet his thoughts kept drifting to Emily. What did she want to talk about? A sinking dread began to creep in. What if she revealed something he wasn't ready to hear? Perhaps she had moved on completely, or worse, maybe she'd never felt what he had. But then he caught sight of her chatting with Ms. Murphy, a soft smile illuminating her face. For a fleeting moment, Jake wanted to protect that smile, to uncover why she had been hesitant. Before he had more time to spiral into worry, the sale started winding down. The energy that had filled the bakery began to fade, and Jake felt a pull towards the inevitable. As the final set of cupcakes were boxed up, he glanced around for Emily. She was packing up supplies, looking slightly frazzled but still radiant. "Emily," he called, his voice rising above the wrapping of paper and the whisper of conversations. She turned, her eyes searching for his amidst the fading lights and waving arms of departing people. "Can we talk now?" He felt his heart race. The moment had arrived, and it intertwined with a mixture of anxiety and yearning. "Sure," Emily replied, biting her lip nervously. She walked towards him, a timid step that echoed the hesitance they both carried. They stepped outside, the evening air crisp, offering a refreshing contrast to the warmth of the bakery they had just left. Jake looked at her, eyes searching for answers, and found himself tangled in uncertainty. "Jake," she began, but her voice stumbled. The words felt heavy in the air, waiting to be freed from their burden. "I'm glad we have this moment." "Me too," he replied, a lump forming in his throat. "I've missed us." The way she looked at him was both pleasant and terrifying. The shadows from before lingered in her gaze, and he knew there were things they needed to address. "Things have changed," she filtered. "Life isn't what I thought it would be." Her voice trembled. "I want to share my heart with you, Jake, but I'm scared." Jake took a deep breath, fighting to steady himself. "I'm scared too. But maybe we can find a way through this together." As the sky darkened around them, the tension crackled like electricity, silent yet thunderous. Would it lead them back together, or pull them apart once more? And just like that, the weight of their shared past hung in the air, ready to be explored. "Tell me everything," he whispered, as their future hovered in the balance. Would the revelations of the night bring them closer, or would it break them apart for good? Emily took a deep breath, her hands clasped nervously in front of her. The weight of her revelation hung heavily between them, each heartbeat amplifying the uncertainty that loomed in the chilled night air. Shadows danced along the walls of the bakery as the last of the volunteers packed up, leaving Jake and Emily in a bubble that felt both comforting and fragile. "I've been thinking a lot about the years we spent together," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "They were beautiful, weren't they?" She looked up at him, her eyes searching his for understanding. "Yeah, they were," Jake replied softly. A smile crept onto his face, the memory of late-night drives and whispered dreams igniting warmth inside him. "But after everything that happened, I pushed you away," Emily continued. "It was easier than admitting I was scared." Her gaze dropped to the ground, as if unearthing buried regrets. "I thought that moving on was what I needed, but I realize now that I never fully let you go. You were always a part of me." Jake felt a flicker of hope, yet uncertainty gnawed at him. "What do you mean?" "It's just, I kept telling myself I could succeed without you by my side, that I could find happiness in other ways." She paused, collecting her thoughts, her voice trembling. "But it's not that simple. Life turned out to be confusing, and I didn't know how to face it alone." He stepped a little closer. "So you want to talk about it now? Share that fear?" She nodded, biting her lip as she attempted to swallow down the storm of emotions swirling within her. "There are things I wish I could change, choices I regret." Jake could see her struggle. Each word felt like a fragile stone dropped into a still pond, creating ripples in the air between them. "I've tried to find someone who could fill that void, but it never worked." His heart raced. And what if you found something that made you realize you don't need to fill that space? What if it's about embracing it together instead? Emily's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. What are you saying, Jake? I mean, the past didn't just fade for me either. I want to be there for you, not just as some fragment of who we were, but in what we can become. The words tumbled out before he could stop himself, raw and unfiltered. Her expression shifted, uncertainty replaced with hope from fear to possibility. You really mean that? Yeah, he said firmly, grounding the space between them with sincerity. I think we can rebuild something beautiful if we just open up. I'm here, Emily, always have been. Suddenly, a distant laugh echoed in the night, jolting them back to reality. The laughter of children, innocent and joyful, drifted on the air like a gentle reminder of what mattered most. Jake's heart lurched as he recalled the smallest joys that once filled their lives. Maybe we can start by sharing some of those memories? He suggested, an idea blooming. Emily's lips curled into a tentative smile, her eyes alight with the flicker of nostalgia. I'd like that. Just like that, a sense of peace enveloped them both, a bridge over troubled waters, yet they both knew this was just the beginning. The layers of their past were tangled and thick, but hope glimmered in the cracks. As they stood there, the air brimming with quiet possibility, a familiar feeling crept back into Jake's heart. But before they could plunge deeper into the well of shared memories, a message popped onto Jake's phone, vibrating in his pocket. It broke the moment, pulling him back to the harsh reality of everyday life. This could be important, Jake murmured, glancing at the screen. He felt the urgency crawl over him. As he read the message, confusion replaced his hopeful anticipation. Emily, I need to look at this. The moment drew thin, and her expression reflected the anxiety he felt welling up inside him. What does it say? She asked, her voice shaky but laced with curiosity. Jake took a breath, a hesitant pause heavy with potential. But the screen held a truth he wasn't ready to share. What if this new piece of news could change everything again, with uncertainty brewing in the air? Jake knew they were on the brink of something pivotal. Would this news tie them closer or unravel the threads before they had a chance to explore the future together? Jake stared at the screen, the words swimming before his eyes. The message was clear yet cryptic, a jumble of emotions and realities that would spiral into chaos if allowed to surface. It's about my dad, Jake finally said, his voice barely above a murmur. Emily's brow furrowed in concern. What do you mean? Is he okay? It caught him off guard, her immediate worry for him slicing through the tension like a knife. He took another breath, gathering the fragmented thoughts swirling in his head. I haven't heard from him in years, and now he wants to meet. The weight of those words hung thickly between them. Jake's mind raced back to the memories he buried, deep resentment, heartache, the impact of a father's absence. The tension pulled tighter, a coil of unresolved feelings winding around his heart. Jake, what do you want to do? Emily's voice was soft yet probing, reminding him of the delicate balance they were trying to maintain. He shook his head, feeling the turmoil within him. I don't know. Part of me wants to say no, to leave it in the past. But his voice cracked slightly. What if he's changed? What if he's sincere? Or what if he's just playing games? Emily countered gently, concern etching her features. You have every right to protect yourself. Jake felt something shift in him. What if I want to give him a chance? Maybe he needs this as much as I do. The struggle between longing for connection and safeguarding his heart played out on his face. Think about it, Jake. What does this reunion mean for us? Emily asked, her own heart likely racing with the implications. If he comes back, can you handle the emotions that might resurface? The impact it could have on our relationship? He took a step back, the reality of her words hitting him hard. I don't want to jeopardize what we have. I don't want to be haunted by what ifs. But maybe, exploring this part of my past might help us build something new? Emily's eyes widened slightly as she processed his confession. Her expression shifted, softening into a look of empathy and understanding. You deserve that, Jake. You deserve to confront your past and heal. There was a moment of silence as Jake glanced outward, lost in thought, his heart pounding. Could he really confront those memories? Could he risk everything for the chance of reconciliation, even if it meant tethering them together again? Emily, he began, but the words tangled in his throat. He didn't want to drag her back into his mess, not when they were on the cusp of something hopeful. Whatever you decide, I'm here, Emily reassured him, reaching out to gently touch his arm. But you need to be honest with yourself first. Do you feel ready to face him? Jake laced his fingers and connected with her gaze. There was so much left unsaid, yet a burgeoning trust rippled between them, solidifying in an unspoken promise. Suddenly, a rush of noise broke their intimacy. A group of late-night strollers laughed as they passed by the bakery, slicing the tension with their carefree chatter. Jake felt a strange mix of envy and longing wash over him. Could they ever return to such carefree moments? Maybe a coffee first? He suggested, needing a moment to catch his breath and collect his thoughts amidst the blur of it all. Of course, Emily replied, nodding as the corners of her mouth turned up again. There was a small glimmer of trust, a thread that stitched them both closer despite the storm brewing just underneath. As they moved inside the bakery together, side by side, Jake's heart raced with the prospect of change, uncertainty trailing close behind. With Emily's warmth beside him, he felt he could face whatever lay ahead, but as the door swung shut behind them, another message chimed on his phone, this one even more alarming than the last. He could barely take a breath before he hit the screen. Could this be the warning that his past was even more complicated than he thought? As he read the new text, dread twisted his stomach. Would this change everything again, or was it simply another layer of the life he was trying to rebuild? Jake's fingers trembled as he read the message. We need to talk. It's important. The words seemed to echo in his mind, relentless and ominous. Who was this we? The past felt so close, it was as if he could reach out and touch the memories he had long tried to conceal. Jake? Emily's soft voice broke through his spiral of anxiety, causing him to snap his head up. He could see her worry written all over her face. What does it say? He hesitated. Just, another message from my dad. Jake gripped his phone tighter, heart racing. The words felt heavy, a weight threatening to crush him if he allowed them to. What's the context? Is it about the meeting? She asked, her brow creasing again in concern. He wanted to tell her, to let her in on the chaos the message stirred, but the thought of sharing that part of his life made his throat tighten. It's just he wants to talk. Like, urgently. Emily reached out, brushing her fingers against his forearm. You don't have to go if you don't want to. I'll stand with you in whatever decision you make. Her kindness was a lifeline, pulling him back just enough to breathe. Yet, that nagging sense of dread refused to be quieted. What if he's coming back to disrupt everything? What if it all just falls apart again? Emily took a step closer, her eyes steady and sincere. You get to decide the terms of this reunion, Jake. You have the strength to set boundaries. Jake let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. The idea of facing his father again filled him with both hope and terror. Could he really take that leap? But what if I don't? What if this is a mistake? Suddenly, the soft chime of the bakery door swung open. A few teens wandered in, laughing giddily, each one oblivious to his internal struggle. Their carefree laughter reminded him of simpler times, echoes of youth when parental love seemed inevitable rather than a source of heartbreak. Glancing back at Emily, he could see that familiar flicker of belief in her eyes, a belief that still felt foreign to him. I just wish I knew what he wanted. What if it's not about reconnecting but digging up old wounds? Then it's up to you to protect your heart. You're not that child anymore, Jake. Whatever he brings, the joy or pain, you have the power to handle it. Jake nodded slowly, a small thread of determination weaving through his panic. The idea of closure, of confronting his past, felt terrifying yet oddly freeing. But deep down, something pulled at the edges of his consciousness. "I need to read this again," he muttered, losing himself in thought. He opened the text once more, fingers desperately searching for context, grasping for answers in the troubling void. As he did, another notification flashed on the screen, a picture sent, gallery-like snapshots that jolted his heart. The image held a child, the wide grin unmistakable. Beneath it, a caption, "He wants to meet his grandfather." Jake's chest tightened, realization dawning as his breath caught in his throat. His heart raced. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was a new generation, one innocent of the chaos that had marked his own childhood. Emily clasped his hand, confirming he wasn't alone in this uncertainty. "Jake, tell me you're okay," she urged, squeezing him gently. I have to figure out how to handle this," he whispered, the gravity of the revelation washing over him. Did he owe it to his son to confront the past? Would this be a new chance at healing, or a step toward repeating history? How can I even start to let him into our lives? Jake's mind raced, bombarded with questions. "Let's take it one step at a time," Emily suggested, the steadiness of her voice anchoring him in a storm of confusion. "You're not alone. You don't have to face him without support." With her words wrapping around him like a protective shield, Jake felt a flicker of hope intermingling with the fear. He could create a new narrative, rewrite pieces of his life he thought were lost. As the past threatened to unravel before him, Jake realized one thing: the next move would be pivotal. "I think I need to meet him," he finally confessed, not just to Emily but to himself. But what he didn't expect was how that decision would come crashing down in ways he couldn't yet foresee. With Emily beside him, a bond forged in courage, he prepared to step into the unknown. How would he balance this new reality, this unexpected connection with the pieces that still hurt? And as they left the bakery, the cool night air bit against his skin, every nerve alive with possibility. Would he find the answers he was searching for? Or would it crash and burn in a way he couldn't control? Only time would tell. Jake stared at the city lights twinkling under the darkening sky, each one like a tiny star, yet far from the comfort of space. It reminded him of childhood nights spent dreaming under the open sky, wishing for a different life. Now, as an adult, he was faced with a decision that felt impossibly heavy and surreal. The message from his father lingered, almost suffocating in its magnitude. "You okay?" Emily's voice pulled him away from his thoughts. He turned to her, searching for reassurance in her bright eyes. "I don't know. I mean, how do I do this? How do I even face him after all these years? Just be honest with him. You'll know what to say when you see him." There was a softness in her tone that filled the air with warmth. Jake nodded, but a part of him wrestled with skepticism still lurking deep inside. What if his father hadn't changed? What if he was still the same man who had hurt Jake so deeply? They walked in silence for a few moments, the rhythm of their footsteps echoing like a gentle heartbeat in the quiet ambience of the evening. Jake felt as if the world was holding its breath, waiting for him to take a step into his past. As they rounded the corner, a sudden rush of wind scattered a few fallen leaves. It was a moment of clarity amid confusion, and Jake felt an odd sense of resolve. "I keep thinking about how my son deserves better. He deserves to know family, not the wreckage I grew up with," he mumbled, more to himself than to Emily. She turned to him, eyes sparkling with encouragement. He could have an opportunity to know his grandfather, to make his own memories. "You're not just choosing for yourself anymore." The thought struck Jake anew. This wasn't just about him reconciling with the past, but about giving his son a future that didn't carry the same baggage. "What if my dad isn't the person I want him to be?" Jake whispered. "And what if he is? What if this is your chance to redefine your family?" Her words hung in the air, hopeful yet unrelenting, a sense of possibility threatening to break through the clouds of doubt. They reached the small park where they often came to unwind. The trees looked familiar yet distant, just like the memory of his father. Jake took a deep breath, grounding himself. The truth was he couldn't keep running from an opportunity for change. Okay, he said finally, breaking the silence as a sudden burst of clarity hit him. I need to let my son decide if he wants to know him. Right. Emily smiled, empowered by his decision. And you can guide him. You can be what you needed back then. Jake looked down, heart swelling with the thought of shaping his son's future. Yeah, but if my dad hurts him, the thought hung bitterly in the air, the fear flickered in his mind, but he knew he had to try. What if I set up a first meeting in a public place? Just to test the waters? There you go. Emily pressed her fingers to his arm, grounding him in the moment. You're taking it one step at a time. Just like we talked about. Now, with the faintest flicker of hope igniting in him, Jake pulled out his phone and opened the message thread again. He hesitated, heart racing as he considered what to type. Okay, let us see where this goes, he whispered. As his fingers hovered over the screen, he drafted a response, each word a step closer to something unknown, something incredibly hopeful and terrifying at once. Let us meet, he finally typed. He hit send, the decisive whoosh in the quiet night making his heart skip a beat. One simple text. Jake glared at the screen, waiting for a response, the finality of his actions simultaneously thrilling and nauseating. Before he could think too deeply, his phone chimed again, jolting him. Their eyes locked, both of them suspended in the moment, anticipation thick in the air. Through the uncertainty of the moment, he thought about how within every fear lay the seeds of opportunity. What would his father's reply mean? Would it lead to a reunion that healed old wounds, or would it crack open an entirely new set of pains? Only one thing was certain: Jake was ready to face whatever came next. For his son's future. As the response flashed on the screen, Jake's heart raced, breath caught, waiting. Would this be the turning point he hoped for, or the moment everything fell apart again? Jake stood outside the bakery, bathed in the warm glow of the streetlights, heart pounding from the whirlwind of events that had unfolded. He had opened the door to his past, and now it sat heavy on his shoulders. The air was thick with both anticipation and dread, surrounding him like a blanket. He slipped his phone back into his pocket after reading his father's quick response, a simple when and where. That felt both promising and terrifying. Emily stood next to him, her concerned gaze piercing through the chaos in his mind. Jake, you're really doing this? Meeting him? Her voice was steady, an anchor in the storm of emotions swirling around him. Yeah, I think it's time. The words tumbled out, despite the knot tightening in his stomach. For me and for my son. She gave a small nod, a flicker of support radiating from her. I'll be here for you. Maybe even bring your son, so you don't face this alone. His mind raced as he thought about his little boy. Jack had no idea about the complicated history waiting to unfold. It could be a chance for him to have something I always wanted. The thought echoed, bringing clarity, a surge of hope. As they walked back into the bakery to wrap up the bake sale, the chatter of townsfolk warm and inviting surrounded them. Nora was already handing out leftovers to those who had stuck around, her smile lifting Jake's heart. Maybe this was the closure he needed, not just for himself but for his family's legacy. Hey, Nora. He called out, approaching the bakery counter. What do you think? Should I bring Jack to meet well, you know? Nora looked at him, a knowing glimmer in her eyes. If you feel it's right, then it's right. Children have a way of cutting through the baggage. They just see love. Jake felt the weight of his grandmother's words settle within him, a soothing balm against the fears nestled in his heart. This moment could be the beginning of something beautiful, a chance to rewrite the very definition of family. What had once been a source of pain could transform into hope, not just for him, but for Jack too. As night fell and the bakery began to empty, Jake took a moment to breathe. The laughter of the bake sale still echoed in his mind, and he realized just how valued the bakery was, not just as a business, but as a heart of the community. He didn't want to fail this legacy or lose that feeling yet again. Emily joined him by the door, her smile soothing his nerves. "Are you ready for tomorrow? I'll take it one step at a time." His voice held a new steadiness, igniting resolve within him. "But I'm ready to try." The next day dawned bright and clear. Jake stood outside the cafe where he decided to meet his father. He felt a whirlwind of emotions crashing inside him, but as he felt a tiny hand slip into his, he looked down at Jack. The boy's innocent smile was an anchor. "Are we waiting for Grandpa?" Jack asked, eyes wide with excitement. Jake knelt down, taking a deep breath. "Yeah, buddy. But remember, it's just a meeting. No expectations, all right?" "Okay," Jack replied, unfazed by the tension radiating off his father. Jake admired his son's bravery. With hesitance, his mind echoed back to all those years of bitterness. But today was not about rage, it was about possibilities. When his father finally arrived, Jake's heart raced. The man stood before him, older but the same, that familiar stout frame and the chaos of emotions in his eyes. "Jake," he said, voice quivering slightly. "You look just like your mother." As the three of them sat down, Jake felt the pieces of his past flash before him. Every threatening memory, every scar, every feeling of abandonment could surface in this moment, but looking over at Jack gave him courage. He spoke, his voice firm and unwavering. "I'm willing to hear you out. For my son's sake." With each word exchanged, the walls began to crack. They talked about regrets, pain, and uncertain hopes. Jake voiced everything he wanted to scream as a boy, everything he felt as a man. His father listened, head bowed, remorse evident in every shadow of his face. It was uncomfortable, but healing. And through it all, Jake felt lighter, as if the burdens of the past were slowly melting away in front of him. As the conversation waned and the sun hung low in the sky, Jake realized this wasn't a perfect solution, far from it. But it was a start. A step toward forgiveness and acceptance, both for himself and for Jack's future. When they finally stood to leave, Jack instinctively hugged his grandfather, and Jake's heart swelled. It was not only a moment that could spark change between himself and his father, but also the start of a new story for his son, a story woven with renewed ties and brightened with the potential of connection. Jake walked away, side by side with Emily at his side, both of them smiling as they began to outline their next chapter together. The bakery with its warmth awaited them. The community that had embraced him stood strong. And now, with hope lighting the way, Jake felt ready to greet every new dawn, embracing every risk and every possibility. He had not just returned home, he had returned to himself, with a heart wide open, prepared to create a legacy of love and inclusion for his family, as it should have always been. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Jake whispered a silent promise to his son. This was the start of something beautifully new, and there was no way he was turning back now. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a difference. Comment below your thoughts, feelings, or what you learned from this journey. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us build this amazing community together.